You are chasing a number that doesn't exist, and it is quietly bankrupting your peace of mind. Every dollar added to your net worth feels like progress, but it is actually a deeper descent into the cycle of endless wanting. I analyzed the daily habits of 3 dozen millionaires who reach true contentment, and one specific silent framework separates their stability from your exhaustion. It is the missing calculation that finally stops the moving goalpost for good. Think about the last time you bought something you really wanted. Maybe it was a new phone, a bigger house, or a designer watch. You felt a surge of excitement. The dopamine hit was real. But how long did that feeling actually last? Science tells us this is the hedonic treadmill. A study conducted by researchers at the University of Massachusetts found that after a significant life change, like a big purchase or a salary bump, people return to their baseline level of happiness within just a few months. We are hardwired to want more, not because we need it, but because our brains are built for pursuit rather than attainment. If you do not define your enough, the world will define it for you, and the world's definition is always infinity plus one. Let us start with the first way to break this pattern. It is the easiest win, and you can start doing it tonight. I call this the subtraction audit. Instead of focusing on how much more you need to save or earn, you look at what is currently draining your joy without adding value. My friend Elena did this last year. She looked at her bank statement and realized she was paying for 3 different streaming services, a gym membership she had not used since 05/2022, and premium subscriptions she had forgotten existed. She wasn't saving a fortune, but those small unconscious leaks were keeping her in a state of scarcity. Once she pruned those, she suddenly felt like she had a raise. She took that same logic to her physical belongings. She spent one weekend decluttering her closet, not to be minimalist, but to identify the things she actually reached for every single day. Everything else was just cluttering her mind. By removing the excess, she realized her environment was finally supporting her life instead of demanding her attention. When you clean out the noise, you finally see the baseline of what you actually use and enjoy. Now, here is where it gets interesting. That is just the baseline. We need to level up by connecting your enough to your actual values. Have you ever sat down and actually written out what makes your life feel rich? Not what society says, but what keeps you feeling present and alive. This is the second method, value based budgeting. Most people budget by what they can afford. That is the wrong way to look at it. Instead, you should budget by what is non negotiable for your soul. If you love high quality coffee and it makes your morning start with peace, that is an essential, not a luxury. But if you are buying a car with a massive monthly payment just to look successful, that is an anchor. You have to be honest with yourself about where the money goes. In 2021, a survey of high earners found that those who spent money on experiences, travel, hobbies, education, reported significantly higher life satisfaction than those who spent on status items. It is the classic trade off. Do you want stuff or do you want agency? If you are finding this helpful, hit subscribe. I share these deep dives every week, and the best part is coming up next. Now, I promised you the best method. This is the one that changed everything for me. This is the concept of the time based enough. We focus so much on money that we forget money is just a battery for our time. Most people work until they die because they never calculate the cost of their freedom in hours. Here is the secret. Calculate your hourly take home pay. Let us say you earn $50 an hour after taxes. When you see an item that costs $500, you are not looking at money. You are looking at 10 hours of your life. Is that object worth 10 hours of your existence? This reframes everything. Suddenly, you stop trading your limited time for things that don't add value to your life. It turns your financial decisions into life decisions. I remember when I started doing this. I was looking at a luxury watch that cost $5,000. I realized it represented over 100 hours of work. That was nearly 3 weeks of sitting in meetings and staring at a screen. I put the wallet away. It wasn't about being cheap. It was about realizing that I already had an accurate watch, and my time was worth more to me than the status of a brand on my wrist. That is the shift. Once you see it this way, you cannot unsee it. It forces you to define your enough by the amount of free time you need to be happy, rather than the amount of cash you need to be powerful. Let that sink in for a second. When you know you're enough, you stop comparing, you stop running, you start living. You have a solid financial baseline from the subtraction audit. You have intentional spending based on your values. And now you have the ultimate gatekeeper, the cost of your time. If you got value from this, share it with someone who is currently on the treadmill and needs to hear this. Subscribe so you do not miss next week's deep dive into the hidden psychology of habit formation. Go back to your bank account, perform that first audit, and take back your time. It is the most profitable move you will ever make. Seriously, think about it. The treadmill stops the moment you decide to step off. Every single time I speak to someone who finally finds peace, it started with that exact realization. You don't need more. You need to know what is enough. And you just took the first step to claiming that for yourself today. See you in the next one.